Hi, this is Kimberly. Please enjoy our podcast, but remember our doctors are only here to educate, not diagnose. If you have any questions or need any further information, please email me. My email address is kim@mfwellness.org.
Okay, we have 3 or 4 podcasts a year that we talk about, and we just get super, super excited, and this is one of them. Well, we've been arguing about bears and bear facts and bear this and bear that for years, and I was like, we got to get like the guy. We got to get a Department of Conservation guy. And we got a guy. And so Dan was wandering around outside, and Kim trapped him, I guess, and so now he's here. So
with a bear trap.
We do. So we have Dan Zarlenga with the Missouri Department of Conservation is here, and I was explaining to him we have a really active practice. All of our patients are either running around in the woods or they're out having fun, and we've talked at length about the Missouri conservation model, the North American conservation model, how much I enjoy it, and what we're going to do, Dan, we're going to ask you some questions about bears.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And it's going to be great. These are questions we got them from mostly our patients. We have a special bonus question from Marissa at the end, which is wonderful. But before we get to those, tell us about yourself.
Sure. Well, so I'm Dan Zarlenga. I'm the regional media specialist for the St. Louis region for Department of Conservation. I've been with the agency for 25 years, so I'm a long timer.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I've been in this job for about 13. So my background actually is not in conservation so much, though. My background is radio, TV, film production.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I started out in radio, worked in there for a number of years.
You got a radio voice, man. You got like a who else has pipes like that for the Cardinals?
Danny Mac.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, when he retires, I'm going to
Oh, yeah.
So, that'll be my next career move, maybe. But so anyway, I actually got into my very first job with it. I mean, I've always enjoyed, hiking and camping and stuff, and now backpacking and paddling. But so I got into the agency because I was in radio production. I had an audio production background,
right.
And when I started in '96, they had an audio production specialist position out of Jefferson City.
Oh, cool.
Which worked with the video unit and did a lot of stuff for audio and stuff. So I had the good fortune of getting hired to that job.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of where I started.
Like ground floor.
Yeah. So then eventually this job, I'm originally from the St. Louis area, so I moved to Jefferson City for that job.
We're required to know where you went to high school.
Oh, McClure High School.
McClure, okay,
yes.
Great. All right, thank
Florissant.
you.
But then when this job...
Everybody make your silent judgments,
yes,
depending on what you know about high schools?
Yes.
I'm from Ohio, so it doesn't
Oh, okay. you're unbiased. Yeah, you're unbiased.
Dr. Brad doesn't care where you went. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's a St. Louis thing.
Yeah.
You probably know.
Yeah. You'll keep doing this forever.
Yeah. When you're 90 years old, what high school did you go to?
People would have come in like, why didn't you ask him where he went to high school? He's from St. Louis. I'm like, you're right. I'm sorry. So now we know. Okay.
All right, got that out of the way. So, but anyway, and then this job came open, and then I ended up getting it and coming back to St. Louis. So a little bit different job where I work with media and public relations, that sort of thing.
That's awesome, man. Is it a lot of answering pretty common questions all the time from people, or is it more like you have publications you try to get out regularly? And follow up to that, are you related to that absolutely incredible monthly magazine?
Yes. Missouri Conservationist. If that's what you're referring to. Yeah. Missouri Conservationist.
Whenever we go see my dad in Ohio, I take a stack. However many months it's been since I've been there, I take a stack for him. He loves it as well.
It's awesome.
And the Explorer.
Yeah, we have a kids version.
I think we get the kids one too.
Yeah. So we're proud of that, and we get a lot of positive
awesome
feedback. The Conservationist has been in publication for over 80 years. It doesn't look the same now that it did 80 years ago, but it's been in publication. Explorer's been around for about 10 or 11.
Yeah, we get copies here. They're never in the waiting room for more than 5 minutes. They're like, well, there goes this month. It's gone.
It's the best there is.
Of course, naturally,
it's gotta be.
It's. I mean, I do think it's really good. I don't print it myself, so I can say that sort of. But there's a lot of great state magazines and stuff that do a great job too. But I mean,
it's very nice of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
but ours
we
is
have
really
no
good.
such responsibility. Like it's trash.
Yeah.
We love it.
Yeah. So and it's good. It's a good tool to inform folks. But we're branching out from the magazine, and we got a website, of course, and we do some videos for and we do social media and all that kind of stuff. Try to reach as many people as we can. So
one of the really positive things, social media really has its ups and downs, but for our standpoint, in the times that we've turned people on to conservation, or we've talked to them, or or they're just getting into being more active or doing this or that, we're like, well, have you tried hiking? You tried to go to the trail? Well, I don't really know where. And now you just grab your phone. You can have them out on a trail. You can have them at bush. You can have them.
We have an app, of course.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that you can download a free app for Android or iOS and find trails for hiking, fishing, hunting, whatever you want. So that's pretty cool. So
Fantastic.
We're trying to get into that too. But yeah, and as you guys probably know, and I'm sure you tell your patients a lot, I mean, there's a lot of therapeutic value just to being outside.
There absolutely is.
Even if you're hiking or just sitting out in nature,
Just walking around outside. There's linear, definable, traceable, reproducible results.
Rest while trying to hunt in a stand,
So much Dr. Fink.
relaxation.
Yeah, people are like, "Oh, you always hunt with your brother." I'm like, "Well, yeah, he falls asleep immediately." So we got our safety harnesses on and everything.
Yeah,
but
hopefully, yes, please.
No, yeah, we're absolutely super safe. But we
do a 2-man stand.
We do a 2-man stand because only one man's awake.
And he's like, "Bro, wake up and shoot the thing that's crossing." And I wake up and there's
bro, deer. He's like, yes. And so Dr. Fink can make 200-yard shots 10 seconds out of a nap.
Oh, that's amazing.
He has
quite amazing.
His very first deer, 203 yards, and he was asleep 10 seconds before that.
Oh, wow.
Wake up, big deer. He just wakes up, turns. Okay, I'm on it. Okay.
Wow.
Does he aim it, or do you aim it for him?
No, I know. I'm the looker. So I look around. I'm like, okay, here comes 3. We're really specific. We want to make sure that our doe and buck ratios stay good. We want healthy herds and stuff like that. So we don't just take everything that comes out. So because those are those deer that feed out onto our place, they live probably at quiver or they're coming out, and so.
Oh yeah, it's all
over the place.
It's all fluid. Yeah.
Dan could probably explain it better, but as far as the news goes, through this summer, I mean, there's been, it's like maybe every week,
right?
There's a sighting. Someone has it on their Ring camera. The bear went through the yard, and now we used to think anyway that it was more southern Missouri, but now we're up here in the St. Louis area, and these sightings are happening more and more.
Right.
So I think that's a big reason. We've been talking about bears for a long time, but now it's like, okay, people are like, okay, they're in my backyard.
Yeah,
now they're a real thing. They're real now. They're not abstract anymore.
Right. Can you just give the people some background information on black bears? Maybe how they differentiate from the other bears that we're absolutely not seeing here.
Right. So
the scary ones.
Right. So the only bear we're going to see here in Missouri, unless somebody brings some in from somewhere else, is the American black bear.
Right.
That's the only species.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, and that's a good thing because they're not people eaters.
Right. That's right.
Like some bears might be in other places, like grizzlies and whatnot. So,
absolutely.
No, so they're not, that's not to say you shouldn't give them respect and all that. I mean, any animal can be dangerous under those certain situations. But generally speaking, bears don't go after people. Black bears don't, and that's what we have here. Now, they can occur in slightly different color phases. So sometimes they look brown or cinnamon, and people think, oh, we got brown bears here. No, still American black bears. They're just going through a color phase where they look brown. So,
okay.
So they're all the same species.
They do that seasonally? Is it like a fur thing?
Yeah, I think it's probably seasonally related and age related. So there's a couple different factors. Our bear biologists could probably give you a little bit more in depth about that. But just to know that we do have some bears that kind of can vary in color a little bit, but they're all the same species.
Okay.
So just a quick bit of history. I mean, bears were indigenous to, in Missouri. They were very, high population of them historically until people came along and we talk about the North American model of conservation.
Yes,
well, that didn't exist before the 20th century. So there was no regulation to hunting. There was no idea of how you should manage species or how things aren't going to last forever if you just hunt them or destroy their habitat. So that's what happened to bears. They got overhunted. Their habitat, was destroyed, like in the Ozarks where they did all the logging to supply the railroads for ties. Our population of bears in Missouri by the early 20th century had really plummeted.
Yeah.
We suspected at the time they were what's called extirpated, which means gone from the state. Since then, we've revised that. They may not have been totally gone, but they were very, very, very rare.
Right.
And then in the late 1950s, the state of Arkansas decided they wanted to reintroduce bears. So they trapped bears in Manitoba, brought them to Arkansas, released them to northern...
all the way from Manitoba.
Yeah, I guess that was the closest population of bears they felt were similar.
Enough of them.
Yeah, there were enough of them and all that.
That's cool.
Yeah, so they released them, and they went
Canadian bears.
Yeah, Canadian bears went forth and multiplied.
That's fantastic,
and
man.
so they, of course,
just took off for St. Louis.
They did, man.
We gotta get back north.
Yes, they're going north again. Yeah. So, but anyway, so they reproduced and they did well, and they of course don't see state lines, so they eventually crossed into Missouri as an expansion. And then over the last, several decades, our bear populations we've started to see them again.
Right.
Start off, more gradually in the extreme southern parts of the state. But as the bears have grown and expanded, we're seeing them more and more and more.
Yeah.
And we're reaching, I guess, for lack of a better term, like a critical mass right now, to where they're starting to be seen a lot more.
Right.
And they're expanding definitely into the St. Louis area because there's a favorable corridor for migration for them, like along I-44.
I was going to ask. That's right. It seems like that because you're talking Oklahoma City to St. Louis.
Right.
And you're going to bisect 6 or 7 major conservation areas where they would be.
Lots of Mark Twain National Forest.
Absolutely.
You got Merrimack River corridor. So
yeah, man.
A lot of different things that are drawing them toward the St. Louis area. So we're definitely on their expansion route. Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned all the sightings in the last year, and you're absolutely right. I mean, we've been getting sightings for the last several years here or there. Occasional one will hit the news, be a big deal.
Right.
But, this last year, it's just been an exponential jump. Now, this is not data-driven. This is just empirical from what we've been seeing. But it's just been an exponential jump in bear reports. If you've been following the news, you've seen them on the news. Like you say, door cameras and trail cams and people seeing them
it is wild.
in town.
Like, cameras out everywhere now. You're seeing all kinds of stuff.
Right. So we are definitely seeing a huge influx. Now, typically, the bear's life cycle, they would be... The mother usually has the cubs in the winter.
Okay.
January, February. Oftentimes she's hibernating when she has it, so it's kind of handy not to be awake through all that, I guess.
Yeah.
Really?
That's so interesting.
That is interesting.
Yes. They don't need any sedatives or anything. So.
That's insane.
And so
Maybe just
they
milk and
they pop out, and I
I
guess
do like that. You go take a nap, you wake up, baby.
Yeah.
What? Son of a...
Yeah. So anyway, and then of course they're young cubs and all that, and they emerge in the spring and all that, and they hang out with the mom, and then they usually spend that next year in the den with the mom too.
Okay.
So I guess you'd say they're kind of like their adolescents or something at
Sure.
that point, comparing them to humans. And then the next year, however, mom wants them out of the house.
They're gone.
Yeah, so she literally pushes them out because she's got new ones coming in behind them. So she pushes them out. So they're young bears at this point. They're probably equivalent to late adolescent, 20-something humans. And the males are going out, and they're looking for new territory, and they're looking for food, and they're pushing outward because the big males that already exist in those territories don't want them in there.
Right.
So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing these males expanding forward, and that's mostly when we get these sightings. That tends to be what they are.
Oh, that's really cool, man.
So, but they're like the forefront of what's coming. So we've got about 800 bears now with our various studies that we've done, and we estimate the population growing about 9% per year.
Great.
So in 10 years, at that rate, they could double their numbers.
That's
I
fantastic.
have a quick question, kind of talk about the traveling, down the 44. What was the deal with the bear that was coming from north, and he made it as far as Wentzville? And I heard that it's coming from north, but I didn't know if that was something that happens as well, if they come from north as well, Iowa, or...
So our main influx is not coming from there, but they move around a lot, and we've had sightings in almost every county of the state, including the northern ones. So it's possible they could be moving, not so much coming in from Iowa, but one could have made it up that far and then it's coming back down.
His name was Bruno.
Bruno. Oh, okay, no, because so you're thinking of Bruno. Yes, that one came from Wisconsin, I believe.
Wisconsin, okay.
Yeah, and it came through Illinois, through Missouri, went down south, ended up in Louisiana. So that was an amazing...
Really?
Yeah.
Wisconsin to Louisiana?
They had to move.
They had to sedate
this year
him.
they had to sedate him, right? Is that true?
Well, it did have an unfortunate end. He was found in Louisiana, and he was a serious injuries, broken bones, and spine, and all that. Probably got hit by a car, so they had to euthanize him, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he did make it a huge, and that's while they move around they move around Missouri and stuff. But that's even pretty incredible. I think even bear biologists are surprised by
It
that.
sounded like he had made that trip more than once.
Yeah,
hard
Hard to say, yeah. But he definitely was a mover.
That's really
for sure.
cool. That's cool.
And yes, he did get the name Bruno, and he was followed on social media.
Yeah, he was like
and all
a famous bear.
He became-
I think
yeah.
there was too many people at one point, trying to.
Well,
Yeah.
so interesting, yes. So they eventually, and the folks who started the Bruno website and all that were very conscientious folks, and so they definitely buffered the sightings, so they didn't tell exactly where he was when he was there, so
Oh,
he didn't
good.
have that kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, that's
concern.
funny. There's a big on just like Instagram. You get a lot of conservationists talk about these pretty areas or this type of fishing, this type of hunting, and then I guess about 18 months ago they realized they were giving away all of their secrets, and now you see all these people and it's location not disclosed, location not disclosed. Like, look at this fish. Like, where are you? And then they don't answer.
Yeah.
Location not disclosed.
Yeah.
And they're like, all these people are showing up.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
like, oh my God, you guys are in big trouble.
That's right, but that also does serve some, like if you had a rare species or something like that, something is better not to give too
Absolutely.
much details because that could cause some
Yeah.
issues,
Yeah.
from some folks. So
Right. That's like I was saying, my conservation models, I want everyone to be really interested in the woods. I just don't want them to go there so that I can go there. That's the Josh Fink conservation model.
Sure.
Pay your
what a great
taxes.
model.
You need to pay for my woods, but don't go there because
Yeah,
I'm going to be
that's
there
right.
hiking today.
that's right.
I've been wanting to ask this a long time. So the criteria for hunting season, right? So we have our elk that we imported from Hazard County, Kentucky, right? And then they got to a certain population, and now we have a huntable population. Well, do you know offhand, like, well, how do they determine? It's just size? Is it amount of reproduction or health of the herd? Is it a bear? Is a bear herd? A bear? A bear troop? A bear? A bear colony?
That's just populations. I think all I've
Population.
heard, but
It's not a troop, Kim.
Sorry.
yeah. But so anyway, these are all determined by minds greater than mine in the biology
Yeah,
community.
oh, sure.
But basically, the fundamental qualitative factors are you want to make sure you've got a decent sized population, and you want to make sure there's good solid reproduction happening, which is
Yeah.
our criteria for the bears. And then, of course, you want to set your limits that are. And right now, we do have our very first bear hunting season
Yeah.
coming up this fall.
And is it rifle or bow? Is it?
Either one, yeah, you can use either. No atlatl on this on the bears.
You knew it was coming.
But-
It's like the only thing you get asked,
Yeah.
isn't it? Like, hey, what about that atlatl, bro? You're like, stop it.
No atlatl, but we do allow atlatl for a lot of other hunting, but not. in
And then
this
there's
particular
no
case.
no bait hunting.
Yeah, so there's no bait and there's no lights or anything like
What's wrong,
that.
Kim?
What's an at level?
Oh my God!
It's okay. We want questions.
Yeah,
Answer.
not everybody knows that. We should probably
I don't
explain it.
hunt.
Good catch, Dr. Fink. I was completely ignoring the fact that Kim.
A lot of people don't know. What
No, there's a lot of people who don't know, and
Yeah.
so.
Can you explain to us what an atlatl is?
Sure. So an
Thank
atlatl
you.
is, I think of it as a spear, but it's technically called a dart, and it's a long spear-like thing that's thrown with a very short piece of wood, and so you just kind of fling it. I'm probably oversimplifying it, but you just kind of fling it with that piece of wood, and that piece of wood just gives that little extra push and power that you wouldn't have with your arm.
That sounds.
So, have
And-
you ever seen a javelin being thrown?
Yeah.
Okay. The approach is like that,
Mm-hmm.
but you're just using your hand. So when they reach back and go like this,
You do it with
instead
your
of with
hand.
this, it's almost in the wrist and forearm, and you're throwing it at the
What
mark.
do you hunt with that?
Can I-
Animals.
Yeah.
Animals.
That
Like
was
Not,
deer?
not bears.
not in Missouri.
Not bears, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
But that was the
Alternative methods, maybe, or something.
yeah.
Yeah, alternative. It's called an alternative method.
But the atlatl predates the bow and arrow.
That's right.
So that's what ancient hunters used.
Before they started drying
Makes
out
sense.
guts.
Yeah.
And using them for the.
And they've had like little seminars where you can learn to.
Oh,
keep
yeah.
them,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe at Bush even.
Yeah, we've had them there, and we have little activities. You can atlatl throwing. It's fun. It's different.
There's a women's.
Here comes
there's-
FFW.
Kim, there's
Yeah.
a women's.
River.
We should go. There's a women's. What is that?
It's a tryout course.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
River
for
Road.
trying out skills. It's women's skills
But I didn't
course.
know
It's
that
a
was-
bush or somewhere, right?
Yeah, we have those periodically.
Yeah, it's totally cool,
River
man.
River
Yeah.
has it too.
I thought
Yeah.
they did.
Yeah.
I thought that's where I'd
Yeah,
seen
I
it, but I
wouldn't
just
be
keep
surprised.
bragging about River River so much.
Right
I
now.
gotta calm
We
down.
have to. We live there.
It's like the best.
And it's a
I'm
great
sorry.
park. It is a great park.
It really is.
So
He's like, you guys say it one more time.
But yeah, so I mean, hunting is always a challenge, even with a gun. But the
Right.
gun's a little less of a challenge than a bow and arrow, and
Yeah.
then atlatl is more of a challenge than a bow and arrow.
Right.
So that's progressively harder and harder because you have to get much closer to your
Oh, yeah.
to your quarry, and you got your movement and all that.
Proficiency.
Yeah.
It's just
Wow.
it's got to be
I
impossible.
never even heard of that.
But we do allow it for deer hunting and some other forms of hunting, just not bear hunting. Because I am my speculation, I can't confirm, but it's because you obviously have to get pretty close to your
Yeah.
target, and
Right.
they're afraid that there could be some, with bears and stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, when you're trying to kill them, they're going to react to that.
yeah, and
Non-favorably.
yes,
And, yeah.
not
Yeah.
favorably,
Right. Right. Like it's not very big, but it's big enough.
right,
Yeah,
right.
It's big enough. Yeah. Okay. What?
And so no dogs are bait though for this initial,
Good.
but we may
That's
reevaluate that
fantastic.
as time goes by. But right now, this is a hunting. It's a toe in the water, and it's a very conservative hunting season because we don't have a huge population
Right.
of bears, but we have enough to get a little bit of an opportunity for hunters there.
Right.
And it's very conservative to start out and see how things go.
What's the time frame?
10 days in October, so it starts on October 18th.
Okay.
There's like a total of 40 bears that can be taken. We divide the southern half of the state into 3 bear hunting zone or bear management zones, excuse me. And each one quota is dependent on the number of bears. The largest one is in the southwestern part of the state. That's
course.
20 bears
Yeah.
is there. Western part of the state's 5 bears, and then there's 15 here in the eastern portion.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So once that quota is reached, though,
It's
then
over.
they will cancel the season.
Absolutely.
So hunters are required to call in every day to see if
Absolutely.
the season is still open in that 10 days.
Yeah, man.
So we want sustainable, and that's all our hunting, whether it's deer or turkey or whatever.
Absolutely.
It's all about, and that's going back to the North American conservation model. You want sustainable resources.
That's right.
And you want to manage them.
That's just good stewardship.
yes.
You know what I mean?
So
I'm digging it.
you manage the land for good resources, and
Absolutely.
that benefits all kinds of life, and then including game species. And then you set your limits to where you don't want to have a continuous and sustainable population, which was not the case in the 1800s.
No, it's just
Yeah.
first guy kills everything, and then gets progressively small. It's incredible. You ever read like the journals from Lewis and Clark, and they're talking about all the stuff they saw, like the American passenger pigeon. Pigeons would take them more than a day for an entire flock to pass overhead, and it's just incredible. Bison, my favorite steak, the Masangwa. Well, it's still around. It was a lot more in the boot heel, and then it's just incredible. The
Kim would like to know what a Masagwa is.
She doesn't want to know. You're just tricking me. It's a snake, lives down, it's a venomous, it's a viper. Anyway, it's one of the coolest named snakes that there is.
So that's the beauty of the North American model is that it does it's all about sustainable
It is.
resources.
Like
and
nothing is
balance.
done without an eye on the future.
Right, and so
I think that's awesome.
And all of our hunting seasons, all of our hunting limits, all that stuff is based on science. So that we can afford this opportunity for Missourians to hunt and enjoy that resource.
Right.
But we're also going to make sure that we have that resource for future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that Share the Harvest initiative as well. 2,600 pounds of
Yes.
fresh, healthy, lean deer meat.
Yeah, and that goes to food pantries
Food
and
pantries,
helps
man.
feed the needy and stuff. So it really is a great resource, and that's part of it too. We also don't allow wanton waste. So it was with the bear hunt, people who do manage to harvest a bear are expected to utilize it.
Every
the
portion
meat,
of it. Yeah.
the fur, the fat, all that kind of stuff, just like the Native Americans did.
That's exactly right. Like
And-
bear was the food.
Yeah.
And deer were the skins. You look at guys like Danny Boone, they would hunt deer in the summer because that's when the pelt is in the best condition. But when it comes to what did you eat? If they could, they ate bear. And then
Yeah.
bear grease was one of the most ubiquitous, best tasting, cooking, heating oils that you can find around the time. That's cool.
So that's all part of it too. Utilizing the resource. And,
That's awesome,
And
man.
again, that wasn't necessarily always the philosophy, in the past.
Yeah.
And so
And it's still sometimes some parts of the world it's not. That's
Oh, yeah.
I would argue with anybody. I think we've said it before. It's just an awesome conservation model. So we're out jogging. We're at Bush or we're down at Peck or we're Reynolds or somewhere. Boom, black bear in the middle of the trail. Let's say 20 yards. We come around a bend. He or she is already there. What do we do?
So what you want to do is make sure that bear knows you're there. See,
Yeah.
bears, they got great sense of smell. They can smell interesting stuff from a mile away. They don't have very good eyesight, though, so they're liable not really to make you out of what you are. And the one thing you do not, like I said, they're not aggressive toward people except under 2 possible instances. One would be if you startle it, and it feels like it's trapped or startled or endangered. Or you appear to be a threat to a mother's cubs.
Yeah,
So that would be.
That's always going to be the thing.
Right. And then the other thing, which I'd like to talk about a little bit later, is
Sure.
Food and getting habituated to humans. through
Yeah,
food.
man. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I'd be pretty upset if we didn't cover that.
But so you're hiking, jogging, whatever in the woods, hunting, whatever you're doing, and you come across a bear. So what you want to do is you want to make noise so the bear knows you're there, especially when you're at a distance. So that way, okay, something's coming. He knows. And then what you want to do is make yourself look large as possible. So you can spread your arms. You have a jacket, put it out, or a hat, or whatever. What you don't want to do is turn and run. You do not want to turn and run because that might trigger the bear's predatory instincts.
Sure.
So you don't want to turn and run.
I don't want to do that.
But just do not turn and run whatever you do.
Right.
But what
Or
you
tell the next guy,
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm going to run. You need to stand here and you look as big as you can.
Yeah. He's still, but he might take off after you and ignore your buddy.
Look over here. I'm looking big.
Yeah. So anyway, don't run away and back away slowly and calmly. That's
Right.
what you want to do, and make sure the bear's guy don't trap him, don't get him feeling
Right.
cornered against anything. So that's mainly what you basically want to do. Now, as an alternative, you're in bear country where there's a lot more bears. We are seeing bears here, but we're still not in the major population.
Right.
It's still mostly south of I-44. But it might not hurt to have some bear spray. If you do carry the bear spray, you need to have it accessible, not buried in your pack or in your car or whatever. It needs to be clipped to your side or
Right.
your belt or something.
Right.
A pocket in your pack you can reach pretty quickly.
Right.
So
and
that's,
practice using it, like practice getting it out. People.
Yeah.
We've fielded this question. People are like, "Well, what if I just have a gun?" I'm like, well, a couple things. One, if you have a gun in a state park, someone's going to come kick your ass, and it's not going to be a bear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you better not. And then number two, aiming, leveling, and squeezing off a shot at a charging boar. Good luck.
Yeah.
Just use the spray. You
Yeah.
get a bigger area. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you
spray is
get
like a shotgun.
Yeah, you spray as it fans out. And you've got
Yeah,
a big
man.
area. So obviously you want to do some common sense things like not spraying the wind and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
But but it's basically
What is bear spray? Is it just pepper spray?
It's like a
pumped up?
hyped up pepper spray.
I love it.
Yeah. So
But pepper spray won't help with bears, right? That's what I've read.
it may not be strong enough.
Yeah.
The bear spray is like that times 10.
Okay.
I'm making a number up. But
Somebody
it's
get us
strong.
Just switch out all your pepper spray.
Right.
For
Yeah.
bear
For bear
spray.
Just go with bear spray. That way, no matter what,
No matter
You're
what,
good.
you're gonna take care of both attacks.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I know people.
Just go akimbo. That way you spray your guy and you spray the bear.
Yeah.
Everybody gets sprayed.
Yeah.
People who
Equal
go to the
opportunity.
Smokies, Smoky Mountains, they'll take spray with them.
Yeah, so I would. I definitely were hiking somewhere in the Smokies. In fact, I went a year or so ago, and I got some bear spray for that. So
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt. We don't have the same concentration they have there at this point, but if you're down deep in the Ozarks, it might not be bad.
Yeah, it's
to
just,
have it.
yeah, it weighs a couple ounces. Just you have to be
Yeah.
able to use it.
Yeah, and I think one difference too between that and like the stuff you carry in your purse. It's quantity. The stuff you carry in your purse is like a smaller spray. 'Cause
Yeah.
You're just a
bear
human.
spray is
Whereas bear
much
sprays, bigger, more higher quantity
A larger canister.
and larger
Yeah.
canister. Yeah.
I want the two-hander. I want the pump where you wear it on your backpack and you pump it as you
Yeah.
spray it. They're like,
It's a fire extinguisher.
Yeah, only bear spray instead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like 400 hours of spray. You waste it immediately.
That would probably stop an elephant in its tracks.
Yeah. None of what we think is going to happen actually happens.
Sure, but it's
it'd be
good to
so
talk
great.
about
It'd be
it.
so great.
It's good to talk about.
All right, so we covered bear spray. Okay, all right. Bears crossing highways.
Yeah.
One of them gets hit. You're like, okay, that's an injured bear. Your heart goes out to it. Talk us through that. What's
Well-
the safest, best thing?
Well, first of all, I mean, most people aren't probably equipped to handle that situation.
You're right.
So you probably want to get out of that situation as quickly as possible to a safe spot. But what we would urge folks to do is report it to us. It's call your local conservation agent, call a sheriff's department or something like that. Let them know exactly where you hit the bear, where it is. Then let those guys or gals take care of it. And then, plus, it could be informative data. We ask folks to report bear sightings. So
Absolutely.
they know there's a bear there. So, and then they can take care of whatever they need to do with it, from there.
So any type of sighting, if it's in our backyard, if we see hiking, you'd
Yeah.
like us to report that.
Yeah, and that's data. That's we know there's a bear sighting there, and then we do keep track of those. So.
And what's the MDC's number?
Actually, it would be best to go to our website, mdc.mo.gov.
.mo.gov.
Right, because you can log bear sightings in there. 24 hours a day. So,
Cool.
Wow.
that would be the most efficient thing, actually. But yeah, I would say definitely leave that to somebody who's probably better equipped to handle that situation.
And then how big, for people that have never seen one in real life, what's the size of a black bear that you're going to see in the woods?
So, I've seen as low as 86 pounds. I mean, the
Really?
figures. Now, I haven't seen the bear, but figures, 86 pounds, anywhere up to 800 or 900 pounds at a maximum. Now, average, you're probably going to be looking at
That's a big boy.
Yeah.
That's a chunky boy.
That's big.
That's not the bear you want to hang out with.
No. But those are the extremes. I'd
Yeah.
say realistically 200 to 400 pounds is
Okay.
what you probably would see. And
Yeah.
maybe even less if it's a younger male or
That's
something
right,
like
which is what we'll
150.
kind of get, right. All right.
Yeah, so that's probably more realistic.
So
what you
first
might
instinct for people, that's a dog.
think. Some people might easily confuse it with
Right.
a dog. Yeah, so who knows? People may have seen bears and thought they were dogs. It's
I'm
in
sure
the
it's
dark
happened.
or at a distance or whatever. So we get the opposite too. We get people seeing what they believe are mountain lions and they end up being dogs. So it's easy
the
to
tail. I just tell them look for the tail.
Yeah.
The tail's as long as the body. Now you can talk, but other than that, just let it go.
Yeah.
If the tail's moving of its own accord. And practicing a balancing act behind it.
Yeah.
Maybe not a dog.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Super
Yeah.
long tail. Yeah, it's mountain lions is it's a fist fight. We can have this great talk about bears and all leave this room feeling good. But if we were talking about mountain lions, there'd be blood on the ground by now. And I don't know why that is, but not in here, but like in general, if you get a general group of people, the debate over mountain lions. And some people so vehemently think that they're not here. And other people just as strongly believe that they are. And it's just wild. No one has a neutral opinion about it.
Yeah, well, I think the thing with bears is the cute, cuddly, smoky bear,
That's
teddy
exactly
bear
what it is.
thing. People relate to that. And if you ever seen a bear cub, I mean, they're just like
people
wanna
are
go to bed
rooting
with
for
it,
bears.
Yeah,
bears don't hiss at you, bare your fangs, and take it. But
Track you, maybe.
that's right. Follow you a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe silently stare you from a tree. Okay, but so they're taking your trash. That's really helpful. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So the anthropomorphization of bears. We assign these characteristics to them, and then hey, let's help out this bear in the backyard by feeding it. And then what have we done?
Yeah, well, actually, you're creating a problem.
Absolutely.
And not alleviating one. And I know it's very, you think like you say, you want to help them out and feed them and all that. But you got to remember, bears been around longer than we've been around here, and they've been able to find food and survive without us. So they can continue to do that. And what you're doing by giving them food is it may seem like a nice act, but you're killing them with kindness. Literally.
You are.
Because what happens then when like I said, most of the time bears will not be a threat to humans. There's only a couple times when they might be. That's when they're cornered or protecting their cubs, and if you start feeding them and they start getting habituated to human food, because then they will start to lose their fear of people. They will start associating people with food, and if they don't keep getting that food, they start getting pretty contrary.
Yeah.
And they will start tearing.
Contrary. It's one of our favorite words.
Yes.
It's one of our favorite words.
Yes, and they will start digging and stuff, or they can become aggressive looking for food. And, and a lot of times when bear attacks have occurred other places, it's a lot of times has to do with food, giving them food. So that's something we don't want to see. We don't want people to do that because the bears will get habituated to that. And there is a saying, not a pleasant one, but often true, fed bear is a dead bear.
That's exactly right.
Which means when they start getting habituated to humans, get used to getting meals from humans, handouts and all that, they become annoyances and they start to become dangerous. And then usually the only solution at that point is euthanizing the bear. So
that's how you get these, random attacks. Like, that bear attacked that 7-year-old. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that somebody else down the road gave that bear 4 Snickers bars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that is something we don't want to do. And we certainly don't want to do it actively feed them, but we can also feed them without realizing it by leaving our garbage out that's unattended, grills that are not cleaned up that have a lot of grease and fat or meat drippings.
Absolutely.
Pet food, that's another big thing. So if there are bears sighted in the area, which have been here in the St. Charles area.
I'm sure if they're down in town and country living like kings.
Yeah. So you need to be aware of those things. So if you have dogs, cats you feed outside, make sure if you do have to feed them outside, you feed them, but once they're done eating, take that food in. Don't just leave it.
Right.
Keep your trash sealed up in airtight containers or keep them in a garage or a barn or whatever it is to keep in an enclosure so bears can't get to it, and then just stick it out the morning of the trash pickup.
Right.
And clean your grills or keep them stowed away in the shed or the basement.
Just put your stuff away. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Just put your stuff away.
Yeah, and you may even need to pull your bird feeders in because they'll come for the bird seed. And usually in the summertime, birds really, that's for our benefit as much for theirs because they got plenty of food sources.
Right.
You know? So you pull your bird feeders in if you have to, so they're not attracting bears. But so stuff like that. Don't put anything that's attractive to bears.
Right. So there's not some secret formula for drawing or not drawing bears. If you leave, it's an opportunity issue.
Well, like our bear biologist says, in this particular instance, you got to think of bear as a giant raccoon. That whatever it's going to draw a raccoon in, it's going to draw a bear in.
We've been run out by raccoons, so I don't imagine what a bear would do to us.
Yeah,
There's some surly raccoons.
Yeah, there's some pretty. Yeah, you're right. They can get pretty nasty too. So that's what you want. But you'll kill two birds with one stone. Not only will you deter the bears, you'll deter the raccoons or coyotes or anything else that might be coming along too. That for the same kinds of food sources. So
cool.
And then the same goes with your camp. If you're camping somewhere, especially where go down South Missouri, a lot of us like to do that.
Yeah.
Be aware of that.
Hoosiaw Valley, man. It's like Bass River. I mean, I'm sure those people make enough noise. There's probably not a bear within 10 miles of there. They're like, we're getting the hell out of here.
But if you go farther south, Current River area, Jack's Fork, 11 Point, all those places. So, you want to do the same thing with your campsite. Think of it like your house. You don't want to leave your food out, your coolers out. You want to make sure where you do eat your food and prepare your food is separate from where you're sleeping. Don't carry your food in your tent. Put your food in your bear-proof containers or airtight containers, and better yet, put them in your vehicle, lock it up, roll up the windows. So, You want to keep that away. And that not for food, but that goes for toiletries, perfumes, deodorants, because any of that stuff can smell.
You should be wearing deodorant anyway.
What are we doing? Are we camping or not?
Yeah.
Some people might need it.
Okay.
For your coolers when you're camping, you should put those in your vehicle too.
Yeah, because they can totally open up a cooler.
Yeah.
That is not airtight. I mean, it's Or if they're curious, they can open coolers, they can open up trash cans. They got hands, more or less, sort of.
That kind of leads into
Marissa's. We have a very special question for you to round out the podcast.
You mentioned locking your vehicle. Marissa's question is: do bears have the capability of getting into a car, starting it, and driving it? even if that's by accident.
Well, I have to think about that one. You know the old Meatloaf song, 2 out of 3 ain't bad?
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah. Well, I'd say 1 out of 3 is about what we got here. They could conceivably get in the car.
Maybe if it was a push button and they rubbed up against it and the keys were in it.
Okay, you're right.
We're being
you're right. They might hit that push button. That's
maybe
possible.
somebody, the food had dropped down and there's food by the gas pedal.
Yeah,
and he's pushing the
and he has
brake,
to shift it.
And
He has to start it.
and then he accidentally.
It probably won't happen.
Well, it's kind of like the 1,000 monkeys on typewriters, and one of them, or a million of them. One of them's going to type.
That's right. The Bible,
Hamlet, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess like that.
Yeah.
In that sense,
that's
it's
where
possible.
Yeah, sure, anything's possible, but that's not going to happen.
And I've had this experience, not myself, but somebody I knew when we were in Colorado. The first one is definitely possible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Opening the door and getting into your vehicle.
Absolutely. So if there's a motivation in there, they think there's something in there. A lot of things, they can fumble around with it and get something open, and possibly get in it. So they can open up trash cans, they can open, doors, like homes and stuff, and so, it's totally possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the families we were with in Colorado, they got up in the morning.
They were secretly bears.
Car door was open, and you could see prints. Like
wow.
When you through the mud, there was like mud prints inside their car.
Yeah, they're very curious and they're very motivated when it comes to food. They can their sense of smell is way stronger than a dog's, and literally
that's crazy to think about.
Yeah,
that's real incredible.
So that's what you got to also think of scents. Anything that's going to be attractive scent to a bear. That's
Are they
what's gonna draw.
in the fall? Should we worry about it a little more? Maybe they're more active, getting ready to head into hibernation, more hungry.
Yeah. So the 2 times when they are the most hungry is coming out of hibernation in the spring, April, May, June. There's when they're really on the move, because they've lost a lot of weight in hibernation, and they got to build that back up, and then building up weight going into hibernation in like September, October.
What's the percentage that they try to put on?
Oh man, it's got to be so much.
No, I don't, but it's an awful lot.
Yeah.
They've got to put on. They've got to have like 10,000 calories a day.
Babies while they're hibernating.
You blew
Yeah.
Kim's
That's
mind 10 minutes into the
insane.
podcast.
Yeah.
What's their primary food source? If they could have anything, what would it be? Berries?
They're they will eat just about anything. So they will eat berries. They'll eat honey. They'll eat.
You had to say it.
Yeah,
I
they'll do that.
understand.
But any kind of nuts, acorns, any kind of nuts. That's a big food source for them. High energy, especially
Massed crops,
especially in the fall when they're fattening up for winter. But they'll eat insects. They'll eat.
They'll eat cicadas?
Plant matter. Yeah, they'll
Kicking
eat
the cicadas'
Yeah.
asses.
Yep, they'll
Those
eat
guys.
cicadas. They'll eat carrion. They will actually kill things, small things, or weak things, and so they can be predatory like that.
They can.
As
That's
far
cool.
as fish go,
They'll.
Yeah, I was just
Black bear.
thinking that.
as much.
I don't think
Not like-
they go for them as much, but I don't think it would be impossible. For them to reach down and get a fish. I don't think that's their main thing. But fish washes up,
Right. Because we don't really have runs here like they
Right.
do.
Or you get a fish kill, and they
Oh,
all
yeah.
wash up before they start going bad. I'm sure that, but it's because they do eat carrion too. That's another thing they'll eat. So they have a wide range of stuff they'll eat. They'll eat just about anything: plant matter, meat, carrion, candy. They'll eat just about anything. Sugar,
That's awesome.
high sugar stuff.
And then, would you say that like every time we see a bear, we should report it? Go on the website.
It would be good if you
Yeah.
could. Yeah,
I mean, citizen science.
It's just that little bit extra information we know. Okay, bear. And we do get some things on. And like I said, we've had sightings of the northernmost counties of Missouri. So
Right.
they're definitely moving around. But by far, the vast majority of them are below the I-70 line, and even bigger majority of them are below I-44. Yeah, and that's where all of our bear management zone for hunting is all below Highway 70 in the Mississippi or the Missouri River.
Awesome, man. Kimberly, anything?
No.
Dr.
A lot of
Brett?
good information.
No, that was great.
Yeah.
Dr. Matt?
I just can't wait for more.
I know. I know. It just
I just
pumps
can't
me
wait
up to get out in the woods.
Yeah, it's neat. I think most people are supportive of the Bears coming back,
Absolutely.
and positive about it,
Absolutely.
and that's the general feeling we got. That people
Yeah, they're
are
out
real-
there. They're out there doing their thing, just like they were. We haven't screwed it up, or we're at least trying to make it right.
Yeah.
Having that back. In the countries where there's a societal collapse. One of the very first things you lose is your wild animals.
Yeah,
The wildlife plummets. Zoos, of course, but even then, specialized creatures, animals that were already extirpated, but it all goes away again.
yeah,
In my opinion, it's the mark of how far we've come. Even if you don't like hunting, which is fine, or even if you don't like this or that, the fact that you're involved in conserving, and being a good steward of the area that you live in, that's what makes this whole conversation so great.
Well, I think there's one idea that a society is judged by how it treats its poor. And I think that might extend to how it treats its wildlife and
That's
how it treats its
fantastic.
natural resources.
We're stealing that.
So-
It's wonderful. Excellent. Well, thank you, Dan Zarlenga, ladies and gentlemen. And you can find him running the media for the Missouri Department of Conservation. Thank you very much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. We were looking forward to talking to you for a long time.
Great. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk and connect with your listeners. So
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
You bet. All right, so for Kimberly, for Dr. Maurer, for Dr. Matt Fink, I'm Dr. Josh Fink. We will talk to you in 2 weeks. Thank you. Bye.
And a big thank you goes out to Hug Monster Sound for somehow allowing the doctors' voices to sound even better than they already do.